Diversity is central to what it means to be an educated person, and that's really critical to making sure that we are doing our duty as an institution in educating our students. When you think about the classroom environment and conversations you have around different topics and that kind of thing, having different viewpoints, different kids with different life experiences, different ways of coming at different problems, all of those different kinds of things enrich the educational experience. They make the educational experience stronger. One of the things that our head of school often says when we talk about this topic with prospective parents is that there have been studies that have shown that if you get a group of people in a room who kind of all have the same background, they'll come up with a solution pretty quickly. If you get a group of people in a room with really diverse backgrounds, it'll take them a lot longer to come to a solution. But at the end of the day, the solution will be better. And the reason is that, you know, when you have a group of people who all have the same background and the same ideas, they take a lot of things for granted in terms of how they think about things. Whereas if you have a more diverse group, people are constantly challenging assumptions and having to think a little bit deeper about, well, why do I think a certain way, or why is this a good idea? And so ultimately that's a process that's important both from the standpoint of what you're producing in that class or that project, but also in thinking about how you develop as a critical thinker and how you're going to operate in the world.
It's wonderful to observe and watch the students in Impact grow and cultivate their capacity for activism and change and social justice. I've been struck by their desire to rise, their follow-through, they're taking chances in their social interactions with their peers, whether it's to interrupt microaggressions or to really be the voice of speaking up for those who to be advocates for those who may not have an equal voice in our community.
I grew up in the 80s, late 80s, graduated from high school in 91, and AIDS was new, and it was being blamed on gay people, gay men mostly, definitely gay men. And so for some reason that just struck me as really messed up, because I was learning about how that's actually not how it came here, that's not what's going on, and the government was afraid of dealing with gay men in any way, that it just became this really awful like you against us thing. And for some reason in high school that just struck me, and ever since then that's always been an issue for me. It's really equality in all ways, and I just never understood the difference between, if I fell in love with a woman versus a man, like what is the difference? So knowing over the years as an art teacher, I get a lot of students that will come and talk to me about their sexual identity issues, their home life, their whatever it is. But as an art teacher, I'm open with you guys about what I talk about my life, and it's a casual environment, so I think people tend to want to talk to me. So knowing that and having a history with students at other schools dealing with their personal sexual identity issues, I was like, this has to start again. And for a while we had a really big group, and it kind of waxes and wanes in terms of the size, but what it does is it gives the kids a safe place to be themselves, talk about their own issues, and then it also, over the different years, we have put out different information booklets or posters, or have had these days of silence or whatever to make other people, not make other people, to help other people understand.
This idea of diversity and inclusion, equity, they're constantly evolving topics, and I think as institutions we're constantly working to get better. You never arrive. right? It's always a work in progress.
There's always more work to be done. The challenge is that also the work is hard, it's process oriented. So what we often do is we just get to where it gets hard and then we circumvent the process and we pull out. So often what ends up happening is that we go deep and then we pull back. We go deep and we pull back. And really where the transformation happens is to go deep and keep going. The process of building unit diversity is something I think I mentioned in one of the, I don't know, Overlake Independent, is that we assume that just because you have all the ingredients of a cake, or you have a diverse school population, for example, that equality happens and inclusion happens. That's not the case. If you're not really tackling understanding topics and issues and really exploring how to shift behavior, we're just going to continue as is. So part of the work is having students understand systems of inequity, understanding how in places and spaces where we miss each other and where we're really or single storing each other, or we're not really taking time to understand the humanity and inherent dignity of one another.
I hear a lot from the students that this is such a white school, it's such a white school, but like it's not. It's not. It may not be black and white equal. But it's diverse racially, not like going to an inner city school, not like going, to a totally different town, or even, especially not like Lakeside, or, but we're in the area that we're in the East Side, and I think for the East Side, we're getting a lot better in terms of the demographics.
Well, if you think about what Redmond was before Microsoft got big, it was a little further out, a little further away from Seattle. It was kind of out and about, or out in the woods. And as a school that was located in Redmond, I think our student population was less diverse by any measure that you choose to use. So as the tech boom, as Microsoft and some of the other tech companies that have moved into the area, they brought a lot of people from all over the world into this community. If you walk down the street in downtown Redmond in 2017, you hear multiple languages being spoken on the street. And I don't know, but I would be surprised if 30 years ago if that were the case.